Hey guys, how you all doing? Okay. Let's start the trial. Hey Nick. What is it this time? You won't believe how many people are here for the trial. Well, isn't it a murder case? What are you talking about? They're here for the trial next door. Next door? Why don't you know this, Nick? They're having Detective Atney's trial today. Detective Atney? They say they're going to try him as Masty Mask. Already? That was super fast. Boy, I'd love to see Masty Mask trial. I know. By the way, where's Pearls? Oh, she went back home. She said she can't neglect her training anymore. I know you don't like me. Pearls has really gotten into her training lately, huh? Yeah, ever since that incident last year. Please don't ignore me. Oh, Ron Delight, good morning. No one likes me. No one noticed me even if I killed someone. Come on, don't be silly. Wait a sec. You don't mean you're the murderer? No. I'm just a poor thief. No, wait, that's not right. A thief can't really be poor. Wow. Now, let's see, according to Mr. Delight. I wasn't on last week. Sorry about that, guys. You know, it's almost Christmas time. You know, it was pretty busy. Thank you all for watching. Soon we'll be playing Monster Hunter when it comes out. So I don't think I'll make it through every single game, but we could come back to this. So if I at least get this done before then, it'd be great, because then we could do Apollo later. But I hope you guys enjoy everything I do. Thank you all for watching, and let's continue. From his second crime on, he was following a bunch of set plans. Plans that someone had been sending him to help commit his heist. Do you really think there is a connection between the thief and the murderer, Nick? It's possible, but today's trial is a race against the clock. Huh? How come? Let's take our time, like always. I'm afraid that's not an option. Court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Ron Delight. The defense is ready, Your Honor. You're ready? Preparation is the last refuge of the weak. Okay, settle down, everyone. Let's begin with your opening statement, Mr. Godot. He's got the judge in the palm of his hand. Yet again. Ron Delight is simply too young to be sent to a war, that's all. I'm afraid I have no idea what that statement means, Mr. Ghetto. Then you need to get out more, Your Honor. Life is a war, but that is exactly why you must be more precise in your wording. That's all my statement means. You must understand now, Wright. Yes, very well then. Let me briefly summarize the details of this case. Wow, the judge is taking charge. Like he knows what's going in for a change. The victim is Kane Bullard, CEO of KB Security. His body was found in the safe approximately 9 a.m. on the morning of the 13th. However, the time of death was estimated as 1 a.m. of the previous day. And that's when our little lost kitten dropped the ball. That little lost kitten is, of course, the defendant. Very well then, Mr. Godot, please call your first witness. I never drink more than 17 cups of coffee during any given trial. But the first one is always the best. Mr. Godot, your witness. Okay then, let me hear what the defendant, Mr. Ron Delight, has to say for himself. The defendant? Well, Mr. Wright, does the defense have any obligations or objections? It may be a bit of a disadvantage having the defendant testify, but... I remember when Mia was defending me. She allowed me to testify so she could do the cross-examination. She put a lot of trust in me back then. We have no objections, Your Honor. The defense will allow Mr. Delight to testify. Ha, you've got guts, Trite. All right then, Mr. Ron Delight, please take the stand. You did it, didn't you? Yes. No, that's not true. For a moment there, I thought we'd set the record for the shortest trial ever. Well, Mr. Delight, Ori looks pretty guilty with that face he's making. And once he opens his big mouth, he'll probably put the last nail in his own coffin. Very well. Now then, can you tell me something? If you didn't kill Kane Bullard, why did you go to KB Security? Well, that's kind of hard to say. Boy, I wish I could go home. Now then, let's hear some testimony about what happened. Don't give us any runaround. That evening, around 1 a.m., I went to see Mr. Bullard in his office at KB Security. The blackmail letter I got, it ordered me to go there. I've been working for KB Security until a year ago, so I knew there was where his office was. 1 a.m. The exact time of the murder took place. The week got washed away by the tides of fate. The strong drink it up. It's bitter today, too. Just like my destiny. You ever know that from the way he's chugging it down? Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, if you please. It ordered you there. It was the first time I'd gotten a blackmail letter that ordered me to go somewhere. Does that mean you've gotten other blackmail letters then? Oh, of course. They say things like steal his or take that. Why don't you save those for later, Mr. Delight? Please don't say any more. Now, what should I do? Press harder. So what did the blackmail letters in question say? It said to bring 50,000. Money. The perfect motive for committing a murder. Oh, but wait. I never intended to pay that money anyway. Oh, is that right? After all, he had nothing to do to hold over my head. I had nothing to be afraid of. An important point indeed. Witness, let's have this added to your testimony. Yes, sir. Ha. A muddy mudskipper in the outer space has a better chance of surviving than I do. The blackmail threat didn't scare me. It wasn't going to cause me trouble or anything. You used to be a security chief for KB Security, right? Yes, that's right. A security chief, you? And yet, a year ago, you were fired without notice. Revenge for an old grudge, a perfect motive for murder, wouldn't you say? This isn't good. Maybe I should change the subject. Mr. Delight, please tell us why you were fired from your job. Well, the world is filled with those who have... I wish I had never asked that. Defendant, please answer the question. I needed money. You needed money? Well, you see, Jessie loves to spend it. It's kind of her hobby. Not exactly the best hobby in the world, huh, Nick? My salary wasn't nearly enough, so I stole the data from the company. Come again? KB Security has a lot of security info in all sorts of companies, and since I was security team chief, you stole some data and sold it. Mr. Bullard found out, and I was fired immediately. What? I wish I'd never answered that. I was somehow able to keep it secret. It made it seem like I had quit on my own. What is it, Nick? You don't look so good. Someone who brings harm to their company is fired as punishment. You do well to remember that. Sure told you. So you admit you stole data. So you admit you stole data from your company, is that correct? Yes, I'm sorry. This is a very important fact. Please add it to your testimony. Oh man, this whole thing just is a big burn for the worst. Crashed and blew up. It's gonna take the jaws of life to rip the case from the clutches of disaster. He fired me for selling company secrets, but Desi doesn't know about that. She does now. What is going on? My controller broken. Give me 1 second here. Get the other controller because something's going on with that. Okay. Okay. Where was I? I don't remember. Here we go. So I knew it was an office. He fired me for selling company secrets, but Des doesn't know about that. Why would you do something like that? Well, for Desi's hobby. What else? Wasting money, huh? It's not a waste. So Mrs. Delight doesn't know that her husband was fired, does she? So would it seem. I'm not sure to think about the couples who keep secrets from that but each other. I can't believe it. This case has gotten even more to Maya than to think seriously about couples. Please try to stay focused, Mr. Wright. There wasn't much of his testimony, was there? Sounds like he's avoiding something, at least. That's what it sounds like to me. Oh, I got a bad feeling about this. We better be careful. If we try to find out ways to make him spill the beans, we'll never get closer to the truth. Yeah. Just what were you being blackmailed about anyway? The blackmail letter said if you don't want your identity revealed, correct? I'm sure it was referring to the whole Massy Mass thing.
Objection!
Tis. I'm afraid that reason isn't going to hold up anymore. What do you mean? The victim had proof that the defendant was Massy Mask, but you were the one who stole the company secrets only 1 year earlier. But that's all over with once I was fired. But if it's true that the fact that I stole secrets was kept under wraps, even so, no reason for me to pay up now, a whole year later. Is that really true? What is it, Nick? The fact that Ron was selling company data. I wonder if he wouldn't had a problem if he ever came public knowledge. Yes, he would. Mr. Delight, I believe you have been in considerable trouble. If your identity as a company data thief was made public. Mr. Wright, what are you trying to do by bullying your own client? Huh. Men are all like colonies of bacteria. The more heat you apply, the faster they grow. That's exactly right. Well then, feel free to keep up the heat, my little lawyer amigo. Little lawyer amigo? Yes, now come on, provide some evidence to back up your assertion. Why would Mr. Delight want to keep his data stealing secret from the public? His wife. Miss Delight, what you said just now doesn't match what you told me yesterday. Huh? What doesn't? I think you've been scared, very scared, of having a certain person find out your secret. Nope. A certain person? Miss Desiree Delight, the defendant's wife. But listen to me, my Desi, she's... Looks like you just sit back and relax. The fun will end before it truly begins. Good dough. Yes, we know. It was all your wife's fault. What do you mean? Miss Delight stole the company data to pay for his wife's spending habit, which he was fired. Unable to face his own wife, someone used his dirty little secret to blackmail him. And that's how this murder came about. Oh, No. Everything's falling neatly into place for him. Don't talk about my Desi like that, or you'll be sorry. Well, it seems that we learned a great deal of things here so far. What do you think, Nick? I didn't think it was possible to get so thoroughly whipped in just 20 minutes. Clearly it was sufficient motive for murder. He stole data for his wife and then killed to protect his secret. A family man who cared just a little too much. The motive is clear. Let's move on. What happened at the crime scene at 1 a.m. in the morning, Mr. Delight? Come now, tell us. We're all ears. When I entered the office, there was a suspicious shadow in there. Suddenly, I was hit on the forehead after that. I remember being a bit dazed. If I hadn't been wearing that, I would have been killed. When I came to, Mr. Bullard was lying there, dead. I see. Suddenly hit on the forehead, huh? I believe the detective from yesterday provided a similar testimony. He said that Massey Mass struck him in the head from behind. Of course, since Anthony turned out to be the culprit himself. That was a lie. Yeah. Alright. How about that? Too much? Too much, too much, too much, too much. Too much. Of course, since he had turned. Of course. Of course. Of course. Of course. Of course, since Anthony turned out to be the culprit himself. Of course, since Anthony turned out to be the culprit himself. That was all a lie. That was all a lie. Do. How about that? I don't like the fast echo though. Ooh. Okay. Is that better? Is that better? Oh. Is it better? I don't know. It doesn't echo anymore. Boo, 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 boo. Ha! No one's going to believe that the pathetic lie like that. What are you saying? I was really attacked. We'll find out if what you say is true or not during the cross-examination. Got that, Mr. Wright. Don't go easy just because he's your client. If any sign of you are, I'll treat you like another cup of my special blend. You don't need to worry about that, Mr. Godot. I have faith in Ron. I know he didn't do it. Hold it. That. Could you please clarify what you are referring to? Why, my mask, the mask costume, of course. Wait a moment. Massey mask? Huh? Oh, did you forget to mention it before? Just to be on the safe side, I dressed as Massey Mask. And then I descended upon the office of the CEO of KB Security. What? Nick, did you know about this? He never told me this. I don't recall him ever mentioning that to me earlier. Earlier. I don't recall him ever mentioning. I don't recall him ever mentioning to me earlier. Even I didn't know that. It seems our little friend really loves to keep secrets. I'm sorry, I just never had a chance to mention it up till now. Wait. That's not right. You know, sometimes things just slip away. Huh. This is my sixth cup of coffee, is staring up at me coldly. At any rate, we can't ignore this new piece of information. Witness, please correct your testimony. I'd have been killed if I hadn't been wearing my Massy Mask costume. Why were you dressed up as Massy Mask? Why? Because I'm Massy Mask, of course. What are you talking about? Massy Mask is a trial is being held next door. Yes, I guess so. Anyway, at the time, I thought I'd be being blackmailed over at the Massy Mask issue. So I thought I'd go as him, just to be safe. Oh boy. Let me tell you, it's real pain to move around with that cape. That's why I took a lot longer than expected. Took a lot longer? What is he talking about? What do you mean by took a little longer? Oh, opening the safe, of course. My cape got caught in a safe door, you see. This all happened when I was hiding in Mr. Bullard's body. What was that? Back up a second. Yes. You are the one that hid the body in the safe? Well, yeah. Inconceivable. Why? Just why? What reason could you have? What were you thinking? Question. When does someone toss their dirty shorts in the washing machine? What? The answer is simple. When they're taking them off. As usual, I have no idea what you're saying. Do you mean that Mr. Delight hid the body because he's the murderer? Ha! So you're not as stupid as you look. His metaphor this time was really obscure. Mr. Wright, you don't mean that you knew about this whole safe business, do you? Well, yes. Why am I the only one not in the loop here? Witness, make sure to add this to your testimony. Yes, sir. Looks like the storm front is moving over the fair weather judge. I panicked and hid the body in the safe. It only took about 10 minutes. I was supposed to... Oop, did it again. Present. Your Honor, could you please take a look at this record? And what might this be? The record for the emergency buzzer that connects the CEO's office to security. The button in the office is pressed as the security team is supposed to become running. And according to this record, the buzzer was pushed once at 1:02. What? If Mr. Ron Delight truly was the murderer, he would have ran as soon as the buzzer sounded. After all, the security guard would have been heading his way. Huh. Let's remember who we're dealing with here. He's probably had no idea that the security personnel in that building. Up until 1 year ago, my client was working as chief of security. There's no way he wouldn't have known about him. But as it turns out, the guard never came. That was nothing more than a coincidence. In fact, the guard was a pathetic loser who had just gotten punched in the face by his ex-new boyfriend. And it wasn't anywhere in the vicinity. It was not something Mr. Delight could have known. Again, remember who we're dealing with here. You sure bet Mr. Delight didn't even notice the buzzer was going off. This buzzer is extremely loud. There's no way he could have ignored something like that. If he had the consciousness, that is. Conscience? What do you mean by that? Ugh. Fine, let's hear about your theory. Recall the defendant's testimony. The moment he entered the victim's office, someone attacked him. Mr. Delight said he felt dazed. I'm willing to wager that he was knocked unconscious for at least a few minutes. Unconscious? So he fainted? That's why Mr. Delight didn't know that the buzzer had sounded. And that's why he thought he had the time to hide the body. So what you're trying to say, Mr. Delight was knocked out and the buzzer went off soon afterwards. Now, unless my client is able to hit the buzzer while he was unconscious, it can only mean there was another person in that room. That's right, whoever was that knocked out Ron Delight and pressed the buzzer. Order in the court, Mr. Wright. This is... Objection! This is preposterous. It was this kid. Ron Delight, the one who killed Kane Bullard. And who pressed the buzzer? It was the victim, of course. He presented the buzzer, or he pressed the buzzer when the defendant attacked him. He didn't die right away. He must have had held on long enough to push that button. So Kane Bullard sounds the buzzer himself. What's your opinion on this, Mr. Wright? I didn't prove that the real criminal was there at the crime scene, but how? Can I prove that it wasn't Kane Bullard who sounded the buzzer? I can prove it all right. The defense opinion on this, Your Honor. This piece of evidence proves that it wasn't the victim who sounded the buzzer. I believe this piece of evidence, incontrovertible evidence, if you're looking for the emergency buzzer. Is there some kind of clue on it? Absolutely not. Hey, come on now. At least give me some thought that you would say before opening your mouth. The fact that there is absolutely no clues, it's in itself is the clue. Now, who's the one who's clueless? This button has no fingerprints on it. Mr. Bullard had really pressed it himself. Naturally, he would have left his fingerprints behind. Ron Delight obviously wiped them off. Why would he? A guard could have come in at any moment. He touched that button. I know he did. The defendant, Mr. Delight, was dressed like Massey Mask. Massey Mask always wears gloves. The reason he could possibly have wiped the button free of fingerprints. Order, order, order. Ha. It would seem. I've been forced to eat crow. I wonder if you know what blend number crow's flavor coffee is. However, if the real killer was there at the scene, why would that person press the emergency buzzer? Shouldn't they have ran away without putting themselves in extra danger? What's with this awkward silence all of a sudden? Ha. Looks like you're fresh out of parlor tricks. You're on to you, Nick. Just give me a minute to collect my thoughts. The real culprit killed King Bullard around 1. And Mr. Delight just happened to waltz in and the murder was taking place, right? The killer clobbered Delight and then sounded the buzzer. Even though security was supposed to respond right away, if the buzzer was pressed, security was supposed to respond. Time's up, Mr. Wright. Let's hear what you have to say. Very well then. Oh, you've got some guts. I like an opponent. Why did the real killer sound the emergency buzzer? To call the security guard. The killer knew if they pressed that button, a guard would come running. That was exactly what they wanted. Do you mean to say that the killer called the guard on purpose? Yes, although it turned out he never showed up. Because he was getting his clock cleaned at the time. Ah, what a touching story. You're saying that the killer had change of heart and called the guard to turn himself in. No, I'm not. When that buzzer sounded, there were 3 people in that office. The victim, Kane Bullard, who was already dead. The defendant, Ron Light, who was out cold. And the third person, the real killer. Hypothetically, yes. Now then, in this situation, if the real killer made an escape, what would happen? The only ones left in the room would be the victim and Ron Delight. And if any security guards came running in at the time, they would think that I was the murderer. Yes, that was precisely the real killer's objective. To frame Ron Delight for the murder. Order, order, order. Ha. It would seem. I've been made to eat my words once again. Actually, you've been made to do a spit take or a cup of coffee. Mr. Wright, who was it? Who was it that tried to frame me? Wait a second. I'm the one who don't need the mask, so... Nick, you mean the real killer is... We're going to drag that person in here right now. But who is it? I don't have any solid proof yet, but I think about it. The killer knew Mr. Delight's identity, and they also knew that he had called to the KB security that night. So the killer used him to execute a well-crafted plan to murder Kane Bullard. Now then, let's hear your accusation, Mr. Wright. Who was that framed Ron Delight for the murder of Kane Bullard? It was the silhouette of Luke Ackley. Detective Luke Ackley. He's the only one who could have done it. Ace Detective. Luke Ackley. You mean Massey Mass did it? Your Honor, the person who is being tried in the next court to us is not Massey Mask at all. He is in actuality the true murderer of Kane Bullard. Order, Mr. Wright. Explain yourself. Theft and murder. Which is more of a serious crime? You're not even close. Murder's more serious crime, of course. It's a capital crime subject of a capital punishment. Please remember that the trial from yesterday, if you would. When Luke Ackley confessed, there was a huge commotion in the courtroom. Of course, a famous detective was unmasked as well as Massey Mask. Instead of being convicted of murder, he was found guilty of grand larceny. That was his true objective all along. To be found guilty? Massey Mask had a perfect alibi for when the murder took place. He was stealing the urn at Lordly Taylor. In other words, being found guilty as Massey Mask, it was Luke Ackley's airtight, watertight, and unassailable alibi. A guilty verdict is an alibi? You know, it's almost time. For what? For Luke Ackley's verdict. It was a pretty simple trial after all. If we're going to stop this trial and stall that one, we need to do it now. Of course. That's assuming that you have proof that the detective was the one who committed the murder. Mr. Luke Ackley's trial has indeed attracted the attention of the entire country. If we were to intrude and fail to provide adequate proof of his true crime, Mr. Delight would have left with the grounds for appeal. Am I really sure about this? Ha! I bet you're only good when your life is on ante. Mr. Wright, I believe in you. Mr. Delight. So please, I'm begging you. Thanks, but my decision would determine the rest of your life. Can I really risk a life like this? Phoenix. What was that? Don't stray, Phoenix. For your client to take the path of trust. That voice, it sounded like Mia. Your Honor, the defense requests the immediate recess. Ha! So your answer is, huh? Very well, if you decided as well. This court will now take a 20-minute recess. Mr. Wright, when you return, please summon Luke Ackley to the stand. Yes, Your Honor.
Well, Sir Detective Agnew.
I have to say, Mr. Payne, you performed splendidly.
Oh no, Sir Detective Agnew. You are the one who...
That's enough. This court sees no reason to further prolong this trial. This court finds the defendant Luke Agnew. Wait. Don't hand down the verdict yet, please.
Well, Sir Lawyer.
Welcome to my court. Who's this Hosner? My name is Phoenix Wright, attorney at law, and I wish to file an accusation against this man, Luke Acme.
Accusation? You accuse Massey Mask?
That man is not Massey Mask. He's just a ruthless murderer. What? To be continued. Oopsie. October 14th. My sis. I could have sworn I heard Mia's voice. So then she's still alive, inside your heart. Nicky boy. Oh, Miss Delight. Is it true the detective is real killer? To be honest, we don't have any definitive proof. But he's the only one who could have done it. But wasn't he at Lord Taylor that night? Not to mention, he didn't exactly know his motive. I mean, why would Detective Agnew want to kill Kane Bullard? Oops, it's almost time. We better get back to the courtroom. I need to find some solid proof. And it's gotta happen sooner or later. Now then, this court is back in session. Mr. Luke Acme, please take the stand. Well, how do you do, Sir Lawyer? Never would have thought to see you acting so recklessly. I couldn't let them hand down your verdict just yet. Not when it had been given you the perfect alibi. An alibi that name of Massey Mask. I'm sorry. I'm afraid the great Luke Acme has no idea what you mean. Of course, it's been in the next courtroom ever since 10 o'clock this morning. I'm afraid there's no way I could have known what's been going on in there. You've been in the defendant's seat all day long, correct? Being tried as Massey Mask. Indeed. It's truly child's play. For a fool, the ignorant masses. Not only did the poor fools ask me to protect their valuables, they even gave me a generous reward upon returning their property to them. Take this red diamond ring. It sparkles upon my divine finger, for example. So you continue to insist that you are in fact Massey Mask? Of course. Very well then, Luke Acme. Let us begin with a simple question. On October 12th at 1 a.m., Kane Bullard was murdered. Where were you at this time? One without knowledge lacks even knowledge that he should be ashamed of himself. But do not worry, I will not hold it against you, Sir Judge. Thanks? Alright, Mr. Atme. The night of the murder, speak. We're all ears. As you wish, Sir Prosecutor. The alibi. I was stealing the urn as Massey Mass, just as I announced I would. I had more than enough time to prepare. It was a pathetically easy job. The photograph contains no words, but in this case, it turned out to be one of my witnesses. At the time in which the camera captured Massey Mask was the same time of the murder. It seems the main point of discussion will be this photo of the crime scene. Everything else until now was a part of his plan. There has to be a secret to this picture as well. I see it. Even the great Massey Mask cannot be in two places at once. Now then, if you'll excuse me, I will have the verdict received. Unfortunately, Mr. Atme, we're still have to do your cross-examination. A fool too foolish to know what a fool. I think he's trying to say that you're full of it, Nick. The only thing that's full of it is his alibi. Oh! I believe Adrian Andrews hired you at one point. That's right. It was over 20 days ago, if I'm not mistaken. You sent the calling card to Lord of the Terror 10 days before the heist. That would mean you sent out the card after you began your security watch, right? Indeed, there was no reason why I couldn't do both jobs at once. It was a perfect opportunity to steal my latest target. I see. You truly are evil, aren't you? Yes, evil is what I am. Hey Nick, isn't there something odd about this? Detective Atme always was proud of his ace detective skills, right? But if the urn was stolen from Lord Taylor while he was the only one watching it, he'd have no way to maintain his perfect ace detective persona. You know, that's true. It's kind of odd. About the camera that took this photograph. Oh, come on now. It's all too clear what you're thinking. Huh? You think that I altered the timestamp on the photograph, don't you? I'm afraid that's impossible. The camera was set up by Lord Taylor, and on top of that, it was Lord Taylor's staff that printed that picture of Stata. Unfortunately for the defense, there's no way the picture could have been altered. I see. It looks like I better find out something else. That could be suspicious. So this alibi is false? It has to be, or he couldn't have killed Mr. Kane or Mr. Bullard at KB Security. but I'm not really spotting anything unusual. There are two possibilities. Either Maxi Mask in the photo is a fake, or the photo itself is. So by photograph, you mean the piece of evidence here, is that correct? Indeed it is. That victim is very thing proves I committed the crime. The very thing that proves you committed the crime. Sure you understand by now. Lordy Taylor provided that camera. There is no way I could have tampered with it. That means I could have not killed, or I could not have killed Kane Bullard. I don't know why the red text is like throwing me off there. Unless I had an accomplice. Come on. Think long and hard about that night. The basement warehouse and the picture was supposedly captured it. It's gotta be there. Isn't something funny about this picture? Are you implying that this picture is a fake? You bet I am. There's definitely something strange about this picture. Well, take a look around the basement warehouse that night before the theft took place. And there's something in that photograph that doesn't match my memory of that night. Very well, let's hear what you have to say. The funny part is right here. Oh, what's this? Is it a blood stain? Ah, blood. Now that is getting interesting. Not exactly. This stain is actually pink paint. Oh, just paint? And a peach colored at that. The blood from the peaches. From blood to peaches. The judge sure loves going on wild tangents. The problem with this photograph is not the paint. The problem is when you consider the layout of the basement's warehouse. Turns out that something should have been there is nowhere to be seen. Well, Mr. Wright, what is supposed to be in this picture instead of the paint? Take that! The supervisor of the treasure exhibit stated the following. But there's good reason for that. On the day of the crime, around noon, the golden statue just happened to arrive from the mountain training hall. I realized that the statue would have been perfect size for covering up the paint stains. That's why I put it there when I first saw you. I myself was there that night when the theft took place and saw the statue in that spot. The picture has truly taken that night there would have been a statue would have been there.
Objection!
But when I went there the day after the theft, that statue of the old bag was in the corner. Perhaps somehow pushed there by accident? Your Honor, this statue is slightly larger than yourself and quite heavy. It would take more than an accidental push to move at that distance. In that case, can you prove it? Can you prove that's the rhyme and reason why the statue was moved that night? Can you do it, Nick? Never mind who moved it. The real question is, why did they move it? Well, Mr. Wright, I hope you're prepared with your answer. Now then, who was the one who moved the golden statue on the night of the crime? The one who moved the statue is none other than Luke Acme. Come on now, Star Lawyer. There you go again, one of your strange delusions. Mr. Wright, what basis do you have for your strange delusions? It's very simple. The witness was the only one in the basement of the warehouse that night. That indeed is very simple, however. Why would I want to move a heavy golden statue? The reason for moving the golden statue here is where the battle really begins. Well, Mr. Wright, what reason did the witness have to move the statue? The reason that can be found here is in this photograph. Look at me. You pretend to have be Miss Mask to create an alibi showing you were at Lordly Taylor that night. But this photograph contains a single fatal flaw. If the statue had been there, your lie would have been exposed like a cheap film at a drugstore. That's why you had to move the statue. A single fatal flaw. Interesting theory. Please enlighten us. Naturally, the lies in this photo is a timestamp. What do you mean? I'll tell you exactly what I mean. On that night in question, Luke had me at the KB security office of Murder King Boulevard. Therefore, it's obvious. It would have been impossible for him to have been at the Lordly Taylor at this time. But what does it have to do with being a statue moved? Remember, if you will, Your Honor. When was this statue placed besides the warehouse door? Well, the statue was taken down to the warehouse on the day of the crime. And that was placed there in order to cover up the plate. Exactly. Luke Acme had already decided a time when he was going to kill the victim. So in order to create an alibi for that time, he took the perfect picture days before the murder even took place. What the? Of course, the statue hadn't been brought down to the basement warehouse yet. Ah. So the day of the crime, Mr. Acme must have been quite nervous. Nervous at the long-tailed cat in a rocking chair factory, so to speak. Why? Because something that was supposed to be there? hadn't been brought down and placed where it wasn't supposed to be. And that is why Luke Acme had to move the statue on the night of the murder. He did it to make room to match the way it had been in this photo. What? Order, Mr. Acme, is this true? One moment, Your Honor. Have you forgotten this? What's that? The data on the basement warehouse computer. According to this, the camera did indeed go off the night of the crime. If that's true, the camera had been set up by Lord Taylor's staff. However, the program used to manage that data was yours. That alone would allow you to tamper with the data. Ah! Order, Mr. Godot. What is the meaning of this? Godot, I warned you about making me wait. Now put that coffee down. My 11th cup. Promised to drink no more than 17 during the trial. Which means I'm still good till the last drop. However, the defense has a very good point. A good point, so what? Are you all but travelers on a road to infinity points? I think he's got his points mixed up with other points. So you say this photograph was taken ahead of time, and that statue was moved in order to make it match. That's a very interesting idea. However, there's one point I can't be denied, which is that is only a possibility. Men are trapped by the chains of maybe. Can never reach their dreams. That's very well true. No way, don't fall for that, Your Honor. Hey, Mr. Mask. Yes. Is there no funny business in your actions as Massy Mask? There should be no problem with you telling your strategy, so let's hear it. Yes, please provide the court with your testimony. Your plan to steal the sacred urn. If I received the request from Lord Taylor about 20 days ago, the urn was placed in that box and Zavari. It was sent to the warehouse. Hence, I was actually unable to see the urn for myself until the day of the crime. I knew that I was extremely valuable treasure, so I sent my card 10 days beforehand. And then I handled the security myself to ensure that the crime would go smoothly. At least, I held the urn in my hands for the first time at 1 a.m. October 12th. That's pretty much all the stuff we've heard from before, isn't it? Yeah, but we'll find the hidden truth in the nuggets of new information he gave. Witness, you sure there are no mistakes this time? Zavari. Very well then, Mr. Wright. You may begin your cross-examination. There it goes. Okay. Thought my thing messed up. I was like, I can't get it to work. Which would have not been good. Objection. Mr. Atme, if you really are Massy Mask, then you also wrote this calling card, correct? But of course. Is there a problem with that calling card? Allow me to read this passage from the calling card that Massy Mask had written. Take good care of the speckled urn. Now, the speckled here surely refers to the pink pattern on the sacred urn. Yes, that is true. But so what? Truth be told, there is no way that Massy Mask could have known about this pattern. What do you mean? This pink spotted pattern on the urn is actually nothing more than paint stains. Paint stains? And those stains did not appear until after the urn had been taken to Lord the Tailor. I'm not finding this joke very funny, Mr. Trite. The day that the sacred urn was taken to the warehouse, the urn was broken due to a human error, or should I say, an error-prone human. And that's when the pink paint got on the urn. You can't be serious. And yet, this calling card clearly mentions the paint pattern. Which means Detective Atme had seen this urn long before the crime ever took place. In fact, he saw it when this fake photo was taken. And because this photo is a fake, your alibi for the night of the murder is no longer holds water. Okay. Yeah, let's do this. Witness, do you have anything to say for yourself? Alright, that did it. He's broken. Nick, I think you're still a little early for the victory pose. Huh? Huh. Is that so sad? No one had any conviction these days. Conviction, you say? Yesterday, we all decided autonomously that this man was Massy Mask. And now we're calling him a murderer? You don't think we're being tad fickle? That's a good point. No way. Don't fall for that too, Your Honor. You say that Luke Atme was the one who killed Kane Bullard. Then let me ask you this. Why'd he do that? An excellent point. Motive, Mr. Wright, motive. Might you, my merry murderous motive, manifest? Nick, he's getting his word. He's getting his second wind. If he prepared an alibi and pinned this crime on Ron Delight, as you say,
He must have had a very strong motive for murder. There's only any motive we've seen is raw delight.
Don't count your chickens yet, mister.
Isn't that right, detective? Indeed, according to my own research, the boy's motive is clear.
Is it now?
Without a motive, it's clearly impossible to prove guilt in a murder case. Now then, maybe you can enlighten us on what the defendant's motives were.
I'd be honored to, so old timer. They're doing everything they can to make it look wrong, suspicious. Despite our lack of hard information, this may be our only chance.
Luke Adamy had no points of contact with the victim whatsoever. Kane Bullard decided to investigate Massey Mask and simply mistook who he was. It was Mr. Bullard who wrote the blackmail letter and sent it to Ron Delight. And it was again Mr. Bullard who harbored a grudge against Mr. Delight for his betrayal. And Bullard's mistake is quite inexcusable. The defendant is truly believes he is Massey Mask. And that's why Mr. Delight saw it fit to kill Kane Bullard. Truly a tragedy. So the victim and Kane Bullard blackmailed the defendant. This blackmail letter found in the defendant's apartment. Handwritten test confirms that it was Mr. Bullard indeed the one who wrote the letter.
What?
Very well, Mr. Wright. Begin your cross-examination once again.
Motive for murder.
Luke.
I was about to reread it again. There's no need to do that.
If I ask you a few questions, Detective Atney. Well, if it's just a few, I guess it's all right. When you said that this letter was addressed to Ron Delight, I could have helped but notice one major contradiction. Contradiction? I don't know where a walking contradiction like you gets off saying things like that. You're one to talk. Times like these, men are made to express themselves with their fists. Why don't you show us what you've got there, Junior? Indeed, time to man up, Mr. Wright. Show us contradicting evidence in the content of the blackmail letter. Take that. Take a good look at this newspaper clipping. It contains a picture of the Tear of Enamon, the stolen jewel. What about it?
The problem is the jewel's color. Color? I'm not much for discussing color myself. According to the clipping, the color of the stolen jewel was blue. However, in the blackmail letter, a total different jewel was mentioned. I'll take that red diamond you received the other day. Red? Which means the red diamond described in the blackmail letter is not the tier of emerald that Massey stole at all.
Objection.
And your point is, Mr. Wright. So you're trying to say that the blackmail letter was intended for someone else? And is that what you're trying to say, right, Wright? What is it you're trying to say, Wright, Mr. Wright? Well, that is what you're trying to say, right, Nick? Yes. Then who is Kane Bullard actually blackmailing? Luke at me. Naturally, it was you, Detective Atme. Do you have some sort of basis of that claim? You have been personally involved in every single Massey case. And the last case, you recovered what was stolen and received a jewel as your reward. A jewel? Probably the one wrapped around, conspicuously around your finger. That red diamond ring. No, God. That is the diamond referred to in the letter, which means that Kane Bullard wrote that letter in order to blackmail you. Order in the court. Order, I say. It seems you've gone too far with your childish pranks, Trey. Uh-oh. I don't like the way he said that. Kane Bullard is blackmailing Luke Ackerman. Are you for real? Yes, I am. Nick, come on, stand up to him. Then answer me this. The blackmail letter contains the following passage. If you don't want your identity revealed, say the word. Reveal the word. Yes, it certainly does. Kane Bullard threatened to make Luke Acme's identity's public knowledge. An identity he wanted to keep a secret. So just what was that identity? Acme killed Kane Bullard because he was afraid of his own secret becoming known. What was his identity he wanted to keep secret? This is what it all comes down to, Nick. The identity that Luke Acme wanted to desperately keep secret was identity as a blackmailer. Luke Acme was a blackmailer.
Objection.
Hey now. Isn't that a little different from what you've been saying? You said that Kane Bullard was the one blackmailing Luke Acme. Are you saying that Acme was blackmailing someone else on top of that? You have to admit, that does sound a little odd. Is it not odd if it's the only thing that makes any sense? Kane Bullard was blackmailing Luke Acme. But Ron DeLight was also being blackmailed by a certain someone. So did you start receiving the blackmailer's letters after this incident? Yes, just a few days after the Tier M on Ice. After that, I started getting the plans in the mail. I received plans for a very kind person. incredibly detailed plans.
Detailed plans?
In which case, that would mean that that Ron Delight was actually Massey Mask. That is what we're claiming. Someone else came up with the plans and had Mr. Delight steal his targets for him. And that someone was no other than Luke Atney.
Silence. Now I see.
It's all becoming clearer.
What is that?
Or, what is? When we were in grade school, you received the same report card every year. Careless. There's a tendency that you jump conclusions, am I wrong? How did you? You say that I, Luke Agnew, was blackmailing Ron Delight. In which case, I would naturally know all about his relations to Massey Mask. Well, yes. Ron Delight started receiving plans from his second crime onward, correct? Which means I learned of his identity when he committed the first crime.
Good point. You certainly couldn't have blackmailed him otherwise.
In that case, let's see some hot, bitter evidence. During the first crime, how did Luke Adney know that Ron Delight was Massey Mask? Would it be the same newspaper clip I just showed you? I think I see it. See what? When you were in grade school, you received the same report card every year. Gets into lots of mischief, trying to make the center of attention. What do you mean? This newspaper clipping. It has a picture of you and Ron Delight in his guard uniform. It seems that Massey Mask didn't just disappear into thin air. He just took off his outfit and hid in a bucket.
That sounds about far stupid to be true.
Correct, with his tricks that he couldn't fool a baby, let alone an ace detective. And that's when you figured it out, Mr. Atney. That's when you learned that under his mask, Massey Mask. Oh. Look at that, he looks like he wasn't even an ace detective. I can't believe it. He was even a shiny blackmailer. What a fraud, trying to think himself as an ace detective.
Why, you? How dare you expose me like that?
Why, I mean, I never blackmailed anyone in my life. I'm a famous and proud ace detective, and also Massey Mask. Why, can't you understand that? I'm afraid that I'm afraid that you are neither a proud thief nor an ace detective. You're a blackmailer and a murderer. That is your true identity.
Why, you? How dare you all this I say none of you can commit a genius in yourself. I'll soon come in. Ace detectives don't get out of all this. And that's enough to make one laugh.
Why do they do that? They'll just make it go and go and go. Like, no, slow down. It would seem you finally arrived at the real answer. That was quite a performance by Mr. Hatney. Bailiff, please prepare a cell for Mr. Hatney.
Objection!
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. The hammer that strikes too fast has yet to aim. What do you mean? I'm already prepared to deliver my ruling. Allow me to say one thing. I will be the one true judge. You don't get much more than the face than that. It appears your calls weren't quite sharp enough, Mr. Trite. What do you mean? It's true that you've proven a lot of things. Things like Luke Adamy was a filthy blackmailer. And that he wasn't at Lord Taylor that night of the murder. That's right. Why is he the one who killed Mr. Bull? But there is still one thing you have yet to prove.
What's that?
Just because he wasn't at the warehouse doesn't mean he was at the murder scene. Therefore, if you can prove that this pitiful excuse for a man was at KB security, then I don't see how the verdict can be delivered. No way!
Order in the court. Well, Mr. Wright.
This is it. This is the final round. I've got to prove that Atomy was at Bullard's office on that night. But can you really prove that? That's long enough, Mr. Trite. I want to hear your answer. That night, Luke Acme was at KB Security, and the defense can't prove it. I can't prove it.
Just as I thought.
But if we hear one of Detective Atomy's testimony,
Objection!
Unfortunately, that's as far as you go, Mr. Trite. What do you mean? I won't allow for any more testimony. That's what I mean. What? Have you forgotten? Luke Atomy was here after we interrupted his own trial. And you have failed to prove that he committed murder. I think it's time the witness return to trial, his own trial, and face his guilty verdict as Massey Mask. No.
Found out, sir, lawyer. It seems that you love wins out in the end after all. I am an ace detective as well as Massey Mask, and my verdict will verify that. Just as Ron Delight will verify that he is the true murderer. I declare that with my full force of my ace detectiveness. Order in the court. That's enough deliberation over the witnesses.
I can't believe this. At this rate, Ron is... Don't give up now, Nick. We still have tomorrow. We can look for more evidence, and by then, it'll be too late. Huh? Why? Double jeopardy. One of the basic rules of any court of law. Double jeopardy. Should the defendant be tried and found innocent in court, the defendant cannot be tried again for the same crime. This is a fundamental rule of all courts. And it applies to the witness as much as it applies to anyone else. Mr. Adamy will be found guilty in a matter of minutes. Guilty of Massey Mask, which means he'll be innocent as far as the murder of Kane Bullard is concerned. No way. The fact that you were unable to prove Mr. Atomy's guilt for that crime here, which means that he'll never again be tried as Kane Bullard's murderer. Now there's nothing I can possibly do to win. Even if Ron proclaimed to be innocent, the real killer, Luke Adden, will go free.
You have cross-examined every statement the witness has made here today. As long as there is no more testimony, I'm afraid I have to declare that there will be no further questions of this witness. Are there any objections? Then I hereby end the examination of Luke Atney.
Objection!
I think I see it. Your Honor, when we were your child, this is what was on your report card every year. Has poor hearing and often mistakes as a result. How did you? Phoenix, raise your head up high. Have you forgotten what I used to tell you? A lawyer is someone who smiles no matter how bad it gets.
That voice. No way.
Oh, that was Mia? Oh, I thought it was Franziska's objection. Or... oh, well, whatever.
Long time no see, Phoenix.
Mia?
This is the power of the curate channel technique. I know it's really Maya who's standing before me. But right now, she's my mentor, Mia Fey.
Now, let's do this.
But there's nothing more we can do, Mia. Without any more testimony, I can't cross-examine. Not yet. The testimony's not over yet.
What do you mean?
Your Honor, you just now said something very interesting. You have cross-examined every statement the witness has made here today.
Yes, that is true, but...
unfortunately, Your Honor, you're forgetting something. Earlier, after we last cross-examination, the witness had made a number of remarks.
Well now, sir lawyer,
It seems that love wins out in the end after all. I am the ace detective as well as Massey Mass. My verdict will verify that. Just as Ron Delight will verify that he is the true murderer. I declare to my full force of my detectiveness.
yes, but those
Comments appear to have no importance whatsoever. Very well, then shall we prove their importance via cross-examination? At any rate, as long as the witness has made these remarks, we, the defense, assert our right to question them. Is that alright with you, prosecutor?
is something the matter, Godot?
Ugh, nothing.
Oh, sir lawyer, it looks like you're one step too late.
If you think such foolhoods would do anything to me,
Luke at.
let's hear it. Huh? It's true, the witness made some remarks. So then, let's hear this last bit of cross-examination.
Mr. Godot, what are you?
Very well then, Mr. Luke Atney. I'm going to allow this defense to cross-examine your earlier remarks. The defense would like to hear why you declared the defendant to be the true murderer. So please, give us one last bit of testimony. Ire. Phoenix, this is it. This is your absolute last chance. Yes, Chief. Indeed, this is true.
that I was not at Lord Taylor. I had to leave to see about another vitally important job request. I had known about the date beforehand, so I had this photograph readied. Brilliant deduction was that what informed me that the true culprit was Ron Delight. So, and thanks to the security card and wallet that had abundantly clear that he was there, I was also able to make a deduction from the buzzer, which only sounded once. The button did not have any fingerprints on it. Why? The victim had left the prints if he sounded it, which means the killer sounded it. Mr. Delight was wearing his mask outfit, which is why he left no prints. And the blackmail letter? The victim likely mistook it for the color of the jewel. Zvari. Therefore, all the evidence points to that poor boy. This testimony seems to hold up pretty well. The witness's early remarks do not appear to have been hastily prepared. All the points have been explained, and none of them seem to contradict anything. But of course. But how did you know about the emergency buzzer? The police investigation documents went directly through me. And I always look over the documents. It's elementary, Sir Lawyer. Are you going to make even more trouble for us now, Sir Lawyer? I will not allow any of your unusual shenanigans, Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. We cannot postpone Luke Adamy's trial any longer. This is your last chance. Hang on a second. Just one chance? It seems that party's about to begin. Well, Phoenix, there isn't any evidence that contradicts that with that testimony. So it would seem. What do you mean, so it would seem? Listen, Phoenix, pointing out contradictions doesn't always mean you have to present evidence, does it? At any rate, this is our last chance. And if you can't point out the case-breaking contradiction, you lose. That's all there is to it. Cup number 17. The last cup. And it seems like the time has come to a point to end this trial. I had to find a fatal contradiction in his testimony. And I need to point out without presenting evidence. Which means all I can do is find my contradicting mark and press it. Remember, you're gonna get one chance. We'll press this statement. Mr. Adamy, this is about your last remark.
Objection!
You still don't get it, do you, Mr. Trite? This isn't the time to be pressing the witness on every little statement. I'm afraid you're the one who doesn't get it, Mr. Godot. What? Mr. Adamy, you seem to have finally admitted that you were in the CEO's office on the night of the murder. How can you say that? Let's review your testimony, shall we, Mr. Adamy? The button did not have any fingerprints on it. Why? Mr. Delight was wearing his Massy Mask outfit. Is that correct? Indeed. That's what I said. My deductions are absolutely foolproof. More likely than your deductions prove that you're a fool. I'm sorry. Whatever do you mean? For some reason, I'm starting to get really thirsty. When exactly did you learn that fact? That Ron Delight was dressed as Massy Mask when he went to the scene of the crime. That was, it was just a few hours ago. Back when my sixth cup was looking at me with a cold stare. Oh, did I forget to mention it before? I'm sorry, I just never had a chance to mention it up till now. That's right. The defendant had to yet tell anyone else the fact that before this morning. Therefore, the only people who should know about those who have been watching this trial. Do you understand now, Detective Atme? There is no way that you should have known about that. You were in the next courtroom being tried as Massy Mask. So then enlighten us, just how did you know about that piece of information? Well, come on, this detective must know about it. He probably had plenty of chances to find out beforehand. And those chances. That is what I want to discuss next. That night, Mr. Delight has wearing his Massy Mask outfit. Therefore, or there is one and only one way for Detective Atme to find that out. Only one way you say. Please recall, if you will, Mr. Delight's testimony. When I entered our office, there was a suspicious shadow in there. For a second, my client witnessed the real killer.
Objection.
But Mr. Delight never saw his attacker. There's no way to tell whether or not the real killer was Luke Atme. And with that statement, I'll turn this case on its head. Just what are you implying? Mr. Delight saw the real killer, correct? Now, if you turn that statement around, it stands to reason that the real killer had also seen Ron Delight. Impossible. Detective Atme, you saw Massy Mask at the murder scene that night. You saw him when you killed Kane Bullard and assaulted Ron Delight. And the only way you could have known that was Ron was wearing. Take a good look, everyone. Unable to find a rival worthy of my genius, I was forced to create one myself. Here I am, the tragic clown. That's the same line you gave yesterday. But I think there's a little more meaning to it behind this time. What an awfully complicated incident. Kane Bullard was blackmailing Luke Atme, who was in turn blackmailing Ron Delight. Upon killing his blackmailer, Luke Atme tried to frame Ron Delight. He claimed to be guilty as Massy Mask in order to escape his true crime. And to that end, he came up with his plan to use the double jeopardy rule to make his alibi. At any rate, he would seem to be finally found the truth. Excuse me. I came perilously close to besmirching the record of an innocent young man. Besmirching him with the title of murderer. Don't ignore me. Oh, I didn't realize you were there.
Why wouldn't it be?
About the verdict. I know, you never committed any murder. That's right, so I'm glad to understand that, but I really am Massey Mask. Huh? So thanks for that trial yesterday. I'm innocent now, right? What was you said? Double jeopardy? Now that you mentioned it, I've been careless. Careless? What do you think, Mia? As a defendant, he says the rule of double jeopardy is absolute. A defendant can never be tried twice for a crime in which he was once found innocent. The Massey Mask is really innocent. It would seem so. For now. For now? Now then, this court finds the defendant not guilty. Boy, this is really lucky. Wait, Ire. This isn't good at all. You have to think the thing is still invisible. Why would it cut? This game. You did it, Phoenix. Thanks, Mia. It's been a long time, hasn't it? Yeah, it's probably because Maya doesn't call on me much these days. Oh. I'm just joking, Phoenix. I don't even think everything's so seriously. But on the other hand, Maya, she seems the kind torn these days. You mean about becoming the master of the curating channeling school? Becoming the master means saying goodbye to her mother. Missy Faye, right? Watch over her, will you, Phoenix? Of course. Well then, see you around. Mia. Mr. Wright. I do not know what to say. Congratulations, Mr. Delight. Thank you so much. No, wait. Nothing really matters anymore, though. Come on, just be happy already. Maya. I've been cleared of murder charges and got off as Master Max to boot. But in exchange, I lost everything. Huh? What do you mean? Stealing security information from KB Security and becoming Master Mask. I did it all for one reason, for her. You mean your wife, Desiree? She hates criminals more than anything. Come to think of it, she's once held hostage by some robbers, wasn't she? She always said how she hated sneaky criminals. I know that, but I once got fired from KB Security and lost all the money I had. She wouldn't have had any reason to stay with me. I thought she would have leave me for sure. So that's why you became Master Mask. Yes. But it's all over now. A broken ball can never be put back together again. That's not true, right, Nick? Right. Really? We can go back to the way things were? You'll be fine, and Nick can prove it. Again? I kinda wish you would check with me first. Mr. Delight, even if a bowl is broken, there is always one way to put it back together. The sacred urn? Jessie was the one who found this. Desiree, your wife.
She was always believing you, Ron. That's why you'll be fine. You don't have to worry about anything. Ah, there you are. Mrs. Delight. You did it, Ronnie. You're innocent. I'm so happy. Thank you. I appreciate that, but I suppose you don't want anything more to do with me, do you? Ronnie, why do you want to talk to me about what's going on? I had no idea you quit KB Security. I never imagined that you were really Massey Mask either. Miss Delight, what are you going to do now that you... what are you going to do now that you know? You're not going to really leave him, are you? Come on, it's obvious, isn't it? How could I ever let a wonderful man like him get away? After all, my bike's really fast. So fast there's no way he could ever get away. But didn't you say that you hated criminals? Oh. I only hate people who act cowardly and sneaky. Like that detective. I see. My Ronnie went and declared his crimes before he committed them, like a man. I just love a man who is so chivalrous. Chivalrous? I know. He was right about you. Every day I spend with you, filled with thrills and excitement. Desi? Desi, you really love Ron, don't you? Nicky boy. Yes. I'm really glad you asked to defend my Ronnie. Thank you so much. I will never forget that, what you've done for us. Oh, well, take care of yourself. You too, Nicky boy. Nope. I can feel my face going red. Mr. Nick, Mrs. Maya, congratulations. Gasp. Talk about bad timing. Mr. Nick, how could you? With another man's wife, in front of Miss Maya. No, I'll never forget you, never, ever. How did she... Where's her worldview? So this is just any case to come close. So did my consciousness. Ron said a broken bowl can never be put back together again. But I know that's not true. I mean, just look. Here's a perfect example of one that was put back together, even better than before. Oh no, episode 3. Episode 3. Alrighty guys, let's pick up episode 3 next time. I hope to see you guys there. Alright, peace.